Welcome to An Interview in History, where imagination meets reality. In this episode, we bring you an imaginary interview, but with real people and real facts. While the conversation you're about to hear is a creative reimagining, every detail, every event, and every quote is grounded in truth. It's a different way to explore real stories, and we can't wait for you to experience it. This week on An Interview in History, we're doing something a bit different. The idea of this podcast is that we're going to be interviewing a prominent figure and getting their thoughts, but in 2025. This was suggested by one of our listeners, and we think it's a great idea. We are talking with Benjamin Franklin, the legendary polymath, a writer, scientist, inventor, statesman, diplomat, printer, publisher, and political philosopher. Among the most influential intellectuals of his time, Franklin was one of the founding fathers of the United States, a drafter and signer of the Declaration of Independence, and the first Postmaster General. This interview takes place on April 29th, 2025. Hello, Mr. Franklin, and thank you for joining us today.
Good day to you. It's a pleasure to be here in this most curious century.
It's an absolute honor, Mr. Franklin. Let's start with the early days. Tell us about your childhood.
I was born in Boston in 1706, January 17th to be precise. I was the 15th of 17 children. Yes, you heard that right. My father, Josiah, was a candle and soap maker, a humble trade, but it kept the family fed. My mother, Abiah Folger, was a strong moral woman. With such a large household, our lives were busy and structured.
17 siblings! That's unimaginable for most families today.
Indeed. Resources were stretched thin, so my formal education ended at the age of 10. My father had hoped I'd enter the clergy, but funds were scarce. I loved to read, though. Devoured books on everything from science to philosophy. That was my real education.
Self-education. Very on trend even in 2025. You left school early, yet went on to become one of the most influential people in history. What was the turning point?
At 12, I was apprenticed by my brother, James, a printer. That's where I found my voice, literally. I secretly wrote letters to his newspaper under the name Silence Do-Good. Those essays got people talking. That taught me the power of words and of public opinion. It was the beginning of my path into public life.
Speaking of public life, you played a massive role in shaping America's identity. Can we talk politics?
Yes. I always saw politics as a tool to serve the people. I believed in unity, dialogue, and compromise. Something the world could use more of today, I dare say. I helped draft the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. My focus was always on practical wisdom, balancing freedom with responsibility.
In today's terms, you'd be called a centrist with visionary flair. How do you think modern politics measures up?
There's a great deal more noise today, and a great deal less listening. But I see hopeful signs. Young people advocating for climate action, equity, and innovation. Democracy is always messy, but it's worth the mess.
Mr. Franklin, how do you feel about politics in 2025?
The political landscape in your time is both fascinating and, I must admit, somewhat concerning. In my era, we endeavored to establish a republic grounded in civic virtue and the common good. I once remarked, a republic if you can keep it, emphasizing the responsibility of citizens to uphold such a government. Observing today's politics, I notice a heightened polarization and a tendency towards viewing opposing parties as adversaries rather than fellow citizens with differing perspectives. This adversarial approach can erode the very foundations of the Republican governance. Moreover, the prevalence of misinformation and the reluctance to engage in civil discourse are troubling. In my time, I valued intellectual humility, acknowledging that I had often been wrong and was willing to change my opinions when presented with better information. Such openness is crucial for healthy political environment. That said, I am heartened by the active engagement of citizens, especially the youth, in political processes and social causes. Their passion and commitment to issues like climate change and social justice reflect the enduring spirit of civic responsibility. In conclusion, while there are challenges, the resilience and activism of the populace give me hope that the Republic can not only be maintained, but also strengthened. Mr. Franklin, did you ever think that the government you helped create would be like it is today? A most intriguing question. In truth, we could not foresee all the complexities of your modern world, but we did understand that the system we built would need to adapt over time. At the Constitutional Convention, we aimed not to craft a perfect government, but one that could be perfected by future generations with wisdom, virtue, and vigilance. We designed checks and balances to prevent tyranny, yet relied heavily on the character of the people who preserved liberty. I confess, I worried that without civic virtue and public engagement, even the best structured government might falter. I once said, only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. Now, looking at 2025, I see both impressive achievements and troubling trends. The scale of government is enormous. The laws and bureaucracy are far more complex than anything we imagined. Political divisions seem to run deeper than they should. But I also see democratic institutions enduring, peaceful transfers of power, and people speaking freely, organizing and voting. Those are encouraging signs. So, to answer plainly, no, I did not think the government looked quite like this. But I did hope it would still function by the will of the people. That, at least, remains true, so long as the people choose to keep it so. Mr. Franklin, if you were elected president in 2025, what would be your primary focus? To serve as president in this modern era would be a formidable responsibility. Drawing on the principles I hold dear, I would prioritize the following these ideas. First, in my time I emphasized the importance of civic virtue, the commitment of citizens to the common good. I would strive to foster a culture of mutual respect and constructive dialogue, encouraging citizens to engage thoughtfully in the democratic process. Next, as a proponent of the Enlightenment, I valued reasons and empirical evidence. I would advocate for policies that support scientific research and technological advancements, ensuring that innovation serves the public interest and addresses pressing challenges. Then, believing that an informed populace is the bedrock of a healthy republic, I would work to make education accessible and equitable for all, equipping citizens with the knowledge and skills necessary to participate fully in society. Also understanding that the strength of a republic lies in the integrity of its institutions. I would endeavor to protect the checks and balances that prevent the concentration of power and uphold the rule of law. Lastly, while environmental concerns were not as prominent in my era, I recognized the importance of stewarding natural resources. I would support initiatives aimed at preserving the environment for future generations. You spent many years abroad. Let's talk about your time as an ambassador. I spent much of the Revolutionary War in France, convincing the French to support our cause. Diplomacy is like chess: strategy, patience, charm. I even embraced the French fashion. I knew presenting a relatable, approachable image would help gain their trust. I always said, if you would persuade, appeal to interest, not to reason. Marketing genius even then. Today we'd call that personal branding. Okay, now, your inventions. So many. Which are you the proudest of? The lightning rod comes to mind. It saved countless lives and buildings. But I also invented bifocal glasses, the Franklin stove, a urinary catheter, and even designed a musical instrument called the glass harmonica. My inventions were born out of need, not profit. I never patented a single one. Knowledge belongs to everyone. That generosity is rare. So now here in 2025, what would you be working on? Oh, renewable energy for sure. Solar power, wind. Nature provides us with boundless power, if only we harness it wisely. I'm also fascinated by AI and the ethics of digital life. I always said, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest. And you're sitting on a gold mine. You were also an early abolitionist, which was ahead of your time. I regret that I didn't take a firm stand earlier in my life. Yes, by the end of my years, I became president of the Pennsylvania Abolition Society. Slavery is a moral failing we must confront honestly in our history and never repeat in new forms. Powerful words. What do you hope people in 2025 take from your life? That curiosity is sacred. That civic responsibility matters. And that humor can soften even the hardest truths. Above all, never stop learning, questioning, or striving to improve. Not just yourself, but your world. Benjamin Franklin, thank you for joining us today. You've inspired generations, and now, perhaps, even more. And thank you for sharing your insights on how you would lead today's world. Thank you. It has been my pleasure. May we all strive to uphold the principles of liberty, reason, and mutual respect in our endeavors. And may your listeners take care not to squander the incredible tools at their disposal. Of course, we don't have Benjamin Franklin here today, but it would be incredible to have that kind of thinking available to us now. Franklin suffered from obesity throughout his middle age and elder years, which resulted in multiple health problems, including gout, which worsened as he aged. In poor health during the signing of the U.S. Constitution in 1787, he was rarely seen in public after then until his death. Franklin died from a pleuritic attack at his home in Philadelphia on April 17, 1790, at age 84. His last reported words conveyed to his daughter were, "A dying man can do nothing easy," after she suggested that he change position in bed and lie on his side so he could breathe more easily. Approximately 20,000 people attended Franklin's funeral, after which he was interred in Christ Church Burial Ground in Philadelphia. Upon learning of his death, the Constitutional Assembly in revolutionary France entered into a state of mourning for a period of 3 days, and memorial services were conducted in the honor of Franklin throughout the country. In 1728,
At age 22, Franklin wrote what he hoped would be his own epitaph. It goes like this: "The body of B. Franklin, printer. Like the cover of an old book, its contents torn out and stripped of its lettering and gilding, lies here, food for worms. But the work shall not be wholly lost, for it will be as he believed, appear once more, in a new and more perfect edition. Franklin's actual grave, however, as he specified in his will, simply reads, Benjamin and Deborah Franklin." And now, another forgotten history. Oliver was a bully. During a neighborhood hockey game in the winter of 1885, he smashed a boy named Wilbur in the face with his stick, seriously injuring the boy and knocking out most of his front teeth. The injured boy had been a brilliant and precocious student, with his sights set on Yale and a career as a minister. But the effects of the injury to his health and his self-esteem derailed that plan. As the effects of the painful and debilitating injury lingered on, the boy finished his education at home, forgot about Yale, and instead went into business with his brother. Oliver Howe went on to become a physician, as well as a multiple bigamist, an insane drug addict, and a serial killer. Having murdered at least 13 people, he was executed on April 19, 1907. Wilbur Wright never attended college. Instead, he and his brother Orville invented the modern airplane. I think it's fair to say that Wilbur Wright made the most out of his adversity. Wilbur Wright was born on April 16, 1867. Join us next week as we talk with Frank L. Baum, who was an American author, best known for his children's fantasy books, particularly The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, part of a series. Until then, take care.